Clinton County Coalition to Prevent Suicide is hosting its 9th annual Evening of Healing program coming up next week on April 14th. It's an evening that features speakers who talk about their experiences with suicide and the pain and trauma that come with the unexpected loss of a loved one. And here to talk more about the event are two of the co-founders and co-moderators of the program. Sally Meisenheimer, a life coach and counselor, will lead one of the panel discussions at the Evening of Healing this year. And Dana Jeweler, a human resources manager at CVPH, the hospital here in Plattsburgh, will be the host for the evening. So nice to have you both here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Many of our viewers have probably heard about this yearly event. How did the program get started? How did this special gathering come to be?
It began with many discussions with the Coalition to Prevent Suicide. And a few of the people had gotten together and said, what can we do in the community that really talks about these things rather than just saying we're going to prevent this? How do we talk about it? And we've had every year someone that perhaps has attempted suicide or is a survivor from a family member, a loss through suicide. And the more we talk about it, remarkably, the lower the numbers go. So that's what the goal is to prevent and to educate. And they needed somebody to just get up there and say, hey, can you talk to all these people and get everybody kind of organized on the stage and let people really tell their stories.
It's trauma that you've become resilient, getting stronger from.
And that's the whole idea, to bring people together who have experienced this sort of pain and trauma, the pain of losing someone, and to share their stories. And in telling their stories, the speakers who you feature share the ways that they've been able to cope with their loss and eventually find hope and inspiration that they need to begin the process of healing, which can take a long, long time, and even recovery and resiliency. That it takes time.
It definitely does. And we several people mentioned to us who would be a great panelist, but we always want them to have time to get through everything and process. Because I think if someone presented when it was very raw and very fresh, it would be too soon. And you don't want to cause anybody harm or set them back.
I agree.
Yeah.
Both of you and Dina Giltz-McCullough, who is another member of the Evening of Healing Committee, have all been traumatized and touched personally by an unexpected loss. You can identify with what these speakers are going through.
Absolutely. I lost my father to suicide when I was 8, back in 1972, and I have several family members that have mental health issues. And that's where this is a really strong evening, because you want to erase the stigma. You want to talk about things. You want to bring things into the light. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, it's just like going to the doctor for a cardiologist. You go to the psychiatrist for a mental illness or a psychologist.
And you as well, Sam.
I have, and I think my journey started earlier. Well, no, not as early as Dana's for certain, but I lost my mom when I was 23. She was 51, had breast cancer. And I just remember that probably has been my biggest loss, my personal biggest loss, but it's also been the one event in my life that has taught me so much. And I feel like once I grieved and understood that process, but really kind of lived with the loss and lived hopefully with the loss, I was able to cope with the other losses. I also lost my brother to alcoholism when he was only 35, and that was devastating for many reasons. And somebody said to me, you know, you never forget certain things that people say to you, the good and the bad, and you learn from that. And someone said to me, are you going to tell people how he died? And I go, yeah, it's a disease. He died of alcoholism. It doesn't take away that he was a wonderful guy. He was a wonderful uncle to my kids, but they had to learn, they were all in middle school and high school, about death, almost like a suicide from alcoholism. And so they're also teaching opportunities, learning opportunities, and spiritual opportunities, I think, that come out of these traumas.
And as Dana mentioned, the stigma that goes with alcoholism, the stigma that goes with suicide, by having this event year after year where so many people talk about how it has touched them personally, helps with that, helps address that, helps deal with that, helps combat that.
We have the Be the One Scholarship, where we reach out to high school students and talk about what would you do to help promote mental wellness, and what have you done, and how has mental illness affected you? And the stories of how youth suicide in this area has affected these students is just heartbreaking. And they write poignant essays. It's amazing how integral mental wellness is in or mental illness is in their lives. So it's another avenue of challenging them to erase the stigma.
As moderators, you help the invited speakers, the panelists, to share their stories, to tell their stories. Because for a lot of people, it's not easy. A lot of them have never done this before, spoken in public about this great personal loss. And so you're there to help them share their stories.
Absolutely. You do a great job preparing them, and Sally, as a mediator, as a profession, that those skills help relax them and everything. There have been times when I've gotten up on stage with them and just my presence, just a hand on their back, has helped get them through it. And that's not the focus. You know, once they get through telling their story, and then they can tell about their resiliency, it can sound like a Debbie Downer initially, but it's such an empowering and inspirational journey that the audience goes through.
And is that part of the reason you do this year after year?
I think that we just do it because we feel the energy in the room change when people are talking. We feel what happens, that it's lighter for the person telling their story. And I think that is all the women that we work with. It's remarkable. We like to lift people up. We like to help each other with our burdens, and have been helped ourselves. So I think there's so much that we take away from just preparing for the night ourselves, and are so wowed by people's stories and their ability to tell them. And I guess I'm the kind of person that I like all the emotion. Like I really believe that if you don't suffer those lows, you're not gonna experience those amazing highs as well. That like to love deep means that loss can be deep too, but that there is recovery. And so Michelle Armani, one of my best friends, is one of the speakers this year. And I know, Tom, you'll talk a little bit about her story as well, but she lost her mother to suicide when she was 30 and her mom was 60, and now Michelle's 60. And so she's had kind of this whole realization of, wow, I've been 30 years with my mother and 30 years without. And there were some secrets in her mother's life that came out after her death that were equally as devastating. But to see Michelle now, to share it, and to feel that it's really worth sharing, that it is a message to people, is really remarkable.
And this is something she didn't talk about until
did
just
not at
this
all.
past year. And she finally talked about it this year, and it was at a special moment. It was at the dedication of the new mural in downtown Plattsburgh, the You Matter mural, that addresses suicide and tries to raise awareness about suicide. It has the suicide hotline number on it. And for Michelle, it was at that dedication that she revealed that about her mother. That had to be incredibly terrifying, but at the same time emotional for her.
Yeah, I think it was really very therapeutic. She dedicated her 60th birthday to her mom and had a party, and everybody donated to the mural that day. And so it was really, really beautiful.
Significant fundraising
Yeah.
to it. It was phenomenal.
This is a project that the Clinton County Coalition to Prevent Suicide has had in the works for several years.
Pre-COVID, yes. We had been talking about it, and we sort of shelved it when it came to that. But then we'd had several youth suicides, Katrina Bedrogi-Bouchard and others. The reason I mentioned Kat is there's a strong movement to have a foundation and suicide prevention there. And one of her best friends created GoFundMe and raised over $6,000 for the mural. So it's such an integral part of our community. It's so needed, and it's just wonderful. And when you call in this area, it's answered locally, so they know about the resources here and they can help talk you through it.
Who are some of the other speakers who are going to be participating this year?
Aisha Mosley is one of our, I think she's our youngest speaker ever. She's a 15-year-old young woman who attempted suicide at age 12. Her story is remarkable, her knowledge, her grace. Wow, really a remarkable young woman. She will be up there too with her adoptive mother, who will be recognized in the community as Rochelle Gregory. I feel like she's a wonderful example to other teens, but also a wonderful example to parents, and maybe some of the conversations that they could have with their children about mental health, about suicide.
She wrote her biography and it just blew me away. I felt like I was reading something a 30-year-old had written. She's very well spoken, talks from the heart, tells it like it is, and in a very gentle and empowering way. Very impressed by this young woman.
And we should mention that I, along with my wife Jackie, will be two of the panelists, two of the speakers as well this year, a couple of years after losing our infant son Tristan, who died just 3 days after he was born. We're going to talk about how much the outpouring of love and support from the community has meant to us, and how it truly is helping us cope with our loss and find hope. So we will be so pleased to join both of you and everyone coming up. Once again, this year's An Evening of Healing will be held this coming Monday, April 14th, 6 p.m. at the Newman Center on Broad Street in Plattsburgh. That's right next to the SUNY Plattsburgh campus. A very powerful evening. It has been for the previous 8 years, and for this 9th year, we hope it will be as well. Dana and Sally, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it, and we'll look forward to seeing you on this coming Monday.
Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for being with us on Monday.